We're going to quickly finish the third chapter of The Indian in the Cupboard. Omri thought it would be a good idea to suggest to Little Bear a horse. Little Bear is not used to horses, but got very excited about it. Omri showed him a selection of plastic horses. Little Bear picked an Arabian horse, jumped on its back, and promptly got thrown off of it. And that is where we pick up. Omri thought his neck must be broken, but he had landed in a sort of somersault and was instantly on his feet again. The face turned to Omri was shining with happiness. "Crazy horse!" he cried with fierce delight. The crazy horse was meanwhile standing quite still, reins hanging loose, looking watchfully at the Indian through wild, wide-apart eyes. Little Bear made no sudden moves. He stood quite still for a long time, just looking back at the horse. Then, so slowly you could scarcely notice, he edged toward him, making strange hissing sounds between his clenched teeth that almost seemed to hypnotize the horse. Inch by inch he moved, softly, cautiously, until he and the horse stood almost nose to nose. Then, quite calmly, Little Bear reached up and laid his hand on the horse's neck. That was all. He did not hold the reins. The horse could have jumped away, but he didn't. He raised his nose a little so that he and the Indian seemed to be breathing into each other's nostrils. Then, in a quiet voice, Little Bear said, "Now, horse is mine. Crazy horse, mine." Still moving slowly, though not as slowly as before, he took the reins and moved alongside the horse. After a certain amount of fiddling, he found how to unbuckle the straps that held the Arabian saddle and lifted it off, laying it on the floor. The horse snorted and tossed his head, but did not move, hissing gently now. The Indian first leaned his weight against the horse's side, then lifted himself up by his arms until he was astride. Letting the reins hang loose on the horse's neck, he squeezed with his legs. The horse moved forward, as tame and obedient as you please, and the pair rode once around the inside of the cupboard, as if it had been a circus arena. Little Bear caught up the reins and pulled them to one side, turning the horse's head at the same time, kicking him sharply. The horse wheeled and bounded forward toward the edge of the cupboard. This metal rim was up to the small horse's chest, like a 5-barred gate to a full-sized horse. There was no room to ride straight at it, from the back of the cupboard to the front, so Little Bear rode diagonally, a very difficult angle, yet the horse cleared it in a flying leap. Omri realized at once that the carpet was too soft for him. His feet simply sank into it like soft sand. "Need ground, not blanket," said Little Bear sternly. "Blanket not good for ride." Omri looked at his clock. It was still only a little after 6 in the morning, at least another hour before anyone else would be up. "I could take you outside," he said hesitantly. "Good," said Little Bear. "But not touch horse. You touch, much fear." Omri quickly found a small cardboard box that held a matchbox lorry. That had held a matchbox lorry. It even had a sort of window through which he could see what was happening inside. He laid that on the carpet with the end flaps open. Little Bear rode the horse into the box, and Omri carefully shut the end up and even more carefully lifted it. Then, in his bare feet, he carried the box slowly down the stairs to let himself out through the back door. It was a lovely, fresh spring morning. Omri stood on the back steps with the box in his hands, looking round for a suitable spot. The lawn wasn't much good. The grass would be over the Indian's head in most places. The terrace at the foot of the steps was no use at all, with its hard, uneven bricks and the cracks between them. But the path was beaten earth and small stones, real riding ground if they were careful. Omri walked to the path and laid the matchbox carton down. For a moment he hesitated. Could the Indian run away? How fast could such a small horse run? As fast as, say, a mouse? If so, and they wanted to escape, Omri wouldn't be able to catch them. A cat, on the other hand, would. Omri knelt on the path in his pajamas and put his face to the cellophane window. The Indian stood inside, holding the horse's head. "Little Bear," he said clearly, "we are outdoors now. I'm going to let you out to ride, but remember, you're not on a prairie now. There are mountain lions here, but they're big enough to swallow you whole, and the horse, too. Don't run away. You wouldn't survive. Do you understand?" Little Bear looked at him steadily and nodded. Omri opened the flap, and Indian and horse stepped out into the morning sunlight. And that is the end of Chapter 3.